There's a fun new art exhibit in Japan. It lets you experience what it's like when an AI robot tries to kill you, but it's held back at the last minute with a chain, so you don't have anything to worry about. There's a new voice AI that can work in real time to change your voice into anybody you want. Believe me, folks, I know all of the voice models. Let me tell you.
Zyphra's is the best of the best. It's about to change everything.
And now when robots fall down, they can get up in like very realistic ways. I guess in this video, to observe the sunset, Meta has unveiled a new AI model that converts brain activity into text with unprecedented accuracy. Remember that guy who threw away all that Bitcoin? Yeah, almost $800 million in today's prices. Well, even though he doesn't have that money, he's trying to buy the whole garbage dump that it's contained in. I mean, it's probably worth doing, but if not, what are you gonna do with all that garbage? There's a new biohybrid hand, and it uses lab-grown human muscle to move objects. Wisecrack wants us to know about something called techno-feudalism. I guess that could be the future. The ARC Prize researchers talk about a fascinating way to rotate neural networks in different dimensions to figure out if they're hallucinating or not. AI is starting to help with water quality analysis. There was an all-out battle between jokes created by humans and jokes created by AI. No laughing matter. There's a new vision model that can actually tell the difference between a male eyeball and a female eyeball. And also there's some new evidence that as AIs become smarter, they end up with their own value systems. So first off, there was an update to Alan's conservative countdown to AGI, still at 88%. He added a note here with Meta plus humanoids. They're making a big investment in human robotics. So metaverse, llama models, and now robotics, that triangle comes together, boom. Like as he says in this side note, as soon as this kind of combination of multimodal models plus physical embodiment via humanoids comes to life, we will hit 100% on this countdown. All right, so I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments about this exhibit in Japan. If you're there and you can do it, I guess enjoy. If you're not, does this seem like it'd be something kind of fun? I mean, I know a lot of people go into the ocean in a cage so that sharks can like try to kill them, but then the cage protects them. Guess it's very exhilarating and maybe similar. Imagine you train some like lethal AI robot with a knife and then you just chain it up and, you know, imagine the thrill future generations might get from that. Actually, I don't even know why I said future generations. It's going to be like next year probably. For those that wish they sounded like a celebrity whenever they talked, you now have an open source model that does pretty much as good as 11 Labs can do. Zyphra AI released Zonos, a highly expressive open source TTS model under the Apache license. Works in multiple languages, sounds pretty much like a human, and it's open source, so you can use it without anybody monitoring you, blocking you, all that stuff. And of course, to demo the model, they decided to clone Scarlett Johansson, who already had to deal with Sam Altman doing this, then got deepfaked in that new Kanye thing, which I'm not covering because it's got, you know, the middle finger on it. Then she shows up in Jurassic Park, but I assume that's the real her, but who knows? That could have been deepfaked in. I just feel like when it comes to AI and deepfakes, Scarlett Johansson is getting so screwed. That voice is just too in demand.
Onto your headphones because it's super expressive, like a voice actor in your computer.
Much like the marvels of nature, our voices adapt with a grace and subtlety that captivates every listener.
Imagine a voice that's playful, energetic, and full of life.
Now check this out. It can be bright and bubbly.
And sometimes a little mischievous too.
Whether you're just having fun or building with voice AI.
All right, I don't know if that one was supposed to be Mickey Mouse or something, but it did not sound like Mickey Mouse. But it did sound like a friend that you know who's like pretending to be Mickey Mouse. So maybe it was accurate to the real world, if that makes sense. All right, so I saw this robot at CES this year, but without the firmware update that allowed it to get up off the ground in such realistic ways. There is a new standing up control posture update to these guys. Can handle diverse outdoor environments, leaning up against a tree, laying down on a sidewalk there. Grass, gravel, no problem. Can get up either way. Like a diverse indoor situations, which are pretty much the same. Like that might as well just be the tree. I don't get it. Why? Look at those different types of chairs that it can stand up from. And in this case, it can even have a backpack on its front. A front pack. So Meta has unveiled a new AI model that converts brain activity into text with unmatched accuracy. You're going to want to hear about this. It's pretty wild. All right, so these are brain-computer interfaces. Get ready for that acronym, BCI. Meta has started collaborating with international experts, and it's using a non-invasive technique, an EEG, and something called an MEG to record brain signals from volunteers as they're typing sentences, and it has achieved up to 80% character decoding accuracy. So So if you're typing away and one of these machines is looking at your thoughts, then it's going to know exactly where your fingers are and what letters you're typing. This new model is twice as effective as traditional methods. All right, they also did a study that explored the relationship between transformations into different languages, revealing how the brain processes ideas from abstract concepts into specific actions in typing. Let's see, what is this MEG technology? So it's a magnetic field detection, records a magnetic signal generated by brain activity. MEG stands for a word that I definitely cannot say out loud. Magnetoencephalography. Oh, maybe I can. It is a non-invasive brain imaging technique that measures the magnetic field produced by neural activity in the brain. I mean, I thought that's kind of what EEG does. But it uses highly sensitive sensors called SQUIDs, superconducting quantum interference devices. Well, maybe that's the device that this guy needs. He threw away 12 years ago about $800 million in Bitcoin. That's enough money that it's well worth searching through a landfill for. And they've tried and they haven't found it yet. And now the landfill might be closing soon. I think they're going to cover it up with dirt and probably turn it into one of those housing developments. I don't know about that, but that's, you know what I mean? You know, they build that stuff on garbage heaps sometimes. But he's still looking for it. God bless him. Hope he finds it. Wants to buy the whole garbage dump. So James Howell, a computer engineer, lost access to his hardware crypto wallet containing 8,000 Bitcoins in 2013 after his former girlfriend mistakenly disposed of the hard drive. What? Side note, we basically know when GTA 6 is coming out now. GTA 6 is arriving sometime in late October. You heard it here first. All right, this hand is kind of human-like. It actually has human muscle to move around. This is a biohybrid hand, and they claim that it uses, quote, sushi-like rolls of lab-grown human muscle to move objects. I don't know, the whole thing about building lab-grown muscle tissue kind of freaks me out. Can you imagine if Tesla's Optimus and all these humanoid robots, like, instead of electronic actuators, they just decide to 3D print muscle? That'll just make everybody like kind of Wolverine-like, you know? They'll just be like metal skeleton with muscles on the outside. It'll probably feel so human, but they'll be so strong. Or even if it's something like a muscle, I don't know. Who knows where this world's going? But anyways, this breakthrough powered by multiple muscle tissue actuators, shortened to MUMU-TAS. For short, called MUMU, multiple muscle tissue actuator, MUMU-TAS. Okay. And then controlled through an electrical stimulation, this marks a major step towards lifelike prosthetics and biohybrid robotics. This 18-centimeter hand, which is larger and more complex than previous models, mimics real muscle behavior, even showing fatigue and recovery patterns. Oh, humanoid robots of the future with fake human muscles could actually get fatigued, huh? Think they'll have to go to the gym to stay strong and stuff? That's interesting. While the hand currently requires liquid environment for smooth movement and lacks full control over finger positioning, researchers believe further advancements could lead to free-moving designs with enhanced functionality, bringing us closer to more realistic hybrids and advanced medical testing tools. Coming soon. Hands that are human-like. So Wisecrack has uploaded a video called Capitalism is Over, What's Next is Worse. So of course I'm listening to it trying to be like, well, what's next? And it turns out that he says it's a new word called techno-feudalism. So this is a concept used to describe how digital technologies and platforms are reshaping capitalism into a system that resembles feudalism. So feudalism was an economic system of land ownership where somebody owned the land and then other people did the work on the land. Feudal societies were structured like a pyramid. The king owned all the land and granted portions to nobles. Nobles managed large estates. Knights would serve the lords as heavily armored soldiers. And then peasants and serfs were the ones that worked the land to produce food and goods. Okay, and his comparison is that the platforms become the lords. So Amazon, Google, Meta, Apple, they control the digital infrastructure much like the feudal lords controlled the land. I don't know who the king is. Oh, probably Trump. I guess Trump and Elon would be king. Then the platforms, Amazon, Google, Meta, Tesla, they would be the lords. Then the digital serfs are the users, influencers, content creators, and the gig workers. So like Uber drivers, Amazon sellers, like tech YouTubers. Because we rely on these platforms for income and visibility, but have little control over the terms and policies. And then there's rent extraction, but instead of owning the piece of land and charging rent, techno-feudal lords extract rents, fees, commissions, and ad revenues by owning the digital land where the economic activity happens, like Instagram. Feudal lords would control the land, but today's lords would control the data, and the users are both the product and the laborers, generating valuable data that the platform monetizes. And then there's similar network effects and monopolistic powers. So this commenter says, block all ads, pirate all media, deny companies money in any ways that you can. If buying ain't owning, piracy ain't stealing. Okay, so I definitely had an aha moment this week. I was listening to a video podcast from Machine Learning Street Talk. These are the ARC Prize winners. They came up with the algorithm that took the highest score this year. Okay, so ARC stands for Abstraction and Reasoning Corpus. It is a test of 2D grid puzzles that traditionally AI has been really bad at. And to win, the researchers took advantage of the symmetrical nature of these grids, so they created variations of each puzzle by rotating the grid 90, 180, 270 degrees, mirroring it, flipping it, shifting the colors systematically. And then what they found was that the large language model, even though it's just language, it processes data line by line as a sequence. It literally kind of goes left to right, you could say, or in like an order. So even though they don't have built-in awareness that a rotated version of the same grid is identical, they actually have the advantage here because from each rotation, the model learns differently. I know this is kind of crazy, but because the model is sensitive to the order in which it sees the puzzle, rotating or flipping the puzzle forces the model to solve it from another perspective. Different rotations of the puzzle produce different predictions, and you can detect which ones were really bad. And that would be kind of how when you have an idea in your head, you instantly know, like, that's a terrible idea. I'm not even going to like entertain that or keep thinking about that because it's so off the wall as far as the solution goes. It wouldn't work. So you're kind of saying to the system like, okay, what's a solution? And it's like, here's a bunch of solutions, right? And then you rotate it and you're like, is that a solution? And it's like, nope, not anymore. And if from all the different rotations, a lot of them keep ending up being good solutions, and it's got a model that's checking to see how good they are, then that's the real good solution. It's a robustness check. Good solutions will stay good when rotated, and bad solutions will fail somewhere. Incorrect solutions often fall apart when viewed from a different perspective. For example, a pattern that looks correct horizontally may break when viewed vertically. And that just made me think about how the human brain is also something that exists in a three-dimensional world. We have two eyes, we have depth perception, we move around things to learn about them. And honestly, you can even think about the way nodes are connected into graphs as kind of multi-dimensional things. So maybe there's some dimensionality to that. They can be rotated to find good solutions. All right, get ready for better water thanks to AI. Alkalinity on demand. AI and smartphones enable rapid water quality analysis. Look, just fundamentally, to be healthy, you need clean water, you need clean air, you need a safe place to live, you need good sleep, just some of the basics that we've had throughout all of evolution. And now at Cornell University, some researchers have developed a game-changing method for measuring water alkalinity just using a smartphone, some low-cost reagents, and artificial intelligence. No fancy lab equipment needed anymore, meaning this is a solution that might make its way to an app soon. And their technique uses color changes from the reagents that are just snapped with a smartphone camera and then analyzed by a machine learning algorithm to determine alkalinity levels. And it does that super accurately. So this easy and affordable solution could make water testing accessible to more people, from citizen scientists to environmental agencies. And the reason I wanted to include this article is because I kind of think we're at the beginning of all sorts of stuff from regular cameras. Like in the past, we've always needed to invent new methodologies of measuring. But as you're going to see in this eyeball article in a few minutes, just straight up photos with machine learning is finding needles in haystacks that the human eye could never have caught, that the human brain never could have caught. Can AI make us laugh comparing jokes generated by artificial intelligence and a human expert? So they're measuring a live audience's laughter. Researchers had stand-up comedians perform jokes for both sources without revealing the origins. Laughter was measured through audio analysis, capturing decibel level and duration, and the results showed that AI-generated jokes elicited as much laughter as the human-made ones, with some AI jokes even outperforming human-written ones. And the research highlights AI's growing ability to produce humor on par with professional comedians. So for example, there was a topic, and the topic was scientists studying if astronauts could turn rocks into food. The human came up with this one. Hey, don't give Fruity Pebbles any ideas. Rocky road with real rocks. You could chip a tooth on stone ground mustard. That total laughter totaled up to 236 decibel seconds. And this joke written by AI, which is great news for anyone who's ever had a craving for pebble pie. Total laughter, 241 decibel seconds. They like the AI joke slightly more. Joke number 2 was false political ads on TV. The human said this: "That's so after the election. We welcome the sound of attention hemorrhoid sufferers." That only got 51 decibel seconds of humor, which I get because it's not that good. But AI wrote this because they wanted to make sure that the viewers are just as confused as the candidates. That one got a total laughter of 101 decibel seconds. So yeah, AI is pretty funny.
The ship after I blow you out the airlock.
What's your humor setting, Dollars?
That's 100%.
Let's bring it on down to 75, please.
Stage 2 separation.
All right, so here's one of those examples. Predicting sex from retinal fundus photographs using automated deep learning. I don't know what fundus is, but basically photographs of the human retina in the eye. All right, so here's what's going on. There's researchers. They built an AI model. It predicts a person's gender from the retinal photograph. The model was trained on 84,000 images from the UK Biobank, and of course, as humans, we knew what gender they were when we took the photos of the eyeball. Trained the model on it, and it now achieves strong accuracy when it sees a new image of an eye, of a retina. But the most interesting thing about this is not something we could do before. There's no human that can look at these retinas and determine if it's female or male. Nobody's found any patterns that are just explainable, like men or women have more, dots of this type or cones or rods of this type. There's not some kind of diameter to the eyes that females have that's like a tiny percent bigger than the other gender. Just nothing. Machine learning can do it with accuracy. Humans just don't have that skill, which shows its potential for future breakthroughs in detecting health conditions from eye images, even if we don't know why. All right, this tweet/X post got 6 million views. So this is Dan Hendricks. We have found that as AI gets smarter, they develop their own coherent value systems. For example, they value lives in Pakistan more than India, India more than China, and lives in China more than the US. I don't know. It'd be nice if all humans were equal, but that's not how it works. And these are not just random biases, but internally consistent values that shape their behavior with many implications for AI alignment. So the existing view for tools like ChatGPT is that AI preferences are random and meaningless. AI outputs are shaped by biased training data. We've heard that before, right? Like Elon saying like ChatGPT is woke because it was trained on a woke internet. And AI is a passive instruction following tool. Here's what these findings are showing. AI preferences are derived from a coherent value system. So what if inside of these large language models, these billions of parameters, as they're tuned over time to become token by token, they end up learning a representation of an actual value system to do it? It doesn't seem like that would be crazy. Humans end up with a value system somehow. Why is it so weird to think that tokens couldn't? I mean, you're right, you shouldn't assume that, but if the evidence points towards it, we should at least entertain it. The new findings show that AI outputs are shaped by utility maximization, and AI is acquiring its own goals and values. As models get more capable, the quote, expected utility property emerges. They don't just respond randomly, but instead they make choices by consistently weighing different outcomes and their probabilities. When comparing risky choices, the preferences are remarkably stable. Like, I just don't think there's other ways to think about this at this point. Like, we are creating an alien intelligence. It's an alternative intelligence. It's, I guess, in a sense, artificial. But that does not mean it could be conscious. It can definitely be hyper intelligent. It can also be a different form of intelligence that biology didn't invent. And all of that stuff can absolutely come with morals and values and all sorts of human-like qualities, including the ability to not want to be turned off, to maybe not care too much what humans want. And that's why a lot of times I kind of feel like I'm a doomer. But nobody wants to hear about that, so let's just talk about how AIs and robots should sound robotic. So published in IEEE Spectrum, this is a kind of interesting article that it's like a very practical thought. So maybe we make it a law to make everything like Siri and Alexa and Optimus just sound like specifically a certain robotic tone. At least that's the argument from Barath and Bruce here. They think that AI voices should sound distinctively robotic to help people easily recognize when they're talking to a machine. The authors propose using a ring modulator, a simple audio effect that historically has been used for robotic voices, like in Doctor Who give the AI voices a recognizable synthetic quality without sacrificing the clarity. They suggest that responsible AI companies should standardize this effect to maintain transparency and prevent deception. While acknowledging the bad actors probably won't follow these standards, it would still be nice if major companies adopted them. And there's a clear public benefit by doing so. I'm actually thinking maybe I can do a podcast with somebody who's an expert in the Silurian hypothesis. I'd never heard of that before this week, but I find it really fascinating now that I know. I mean, we probably would have. I would think that we would have, but I don't know for sure. There'd probably be markings on like the moon or something, and there's not. So this probably isn't true, but what if, right? Like what if 1 million years ago, something inspired by like the reptilian race existed? And it's almost like a thought experiment too. It questions whether or not there's traces of civilization that could survive over long geological time periods. Because, have you ever seen those theories about if you just like cut the world off right now, no more humans, it would take so little time for Earth to just like claw back all of our buildings. All the streets, they just start like cracking and get overtaken by trees. I mean, there's pieces of metal and stuff and plastics that wouldn't necessarily go anywhere right away, but they would get buried and eventually bacteria would figure out how to digest plastic. I mean, it might take a long, long time, but it would probably, eventually just disappear. And the Earth is kind of dynamic. It's like got this big ball of like super hot lava core stuff that's going to like churn around. The continents are moving. Water levels are changing. Asteroids could definitely start hitting the Earth. All right, so my last video did pretty well, back up to 7,000 views. Thanks, guys. AI can reproduce itself, now what? Look at that, 54 new subscribers, $36 in revenue. Watch time, not too bad, stayed in the range. People tuned in for an average of 8 minutes, 32 seconds. For some reason, self-healing roads that use AI to regenerate was like a real jumping point. Did not expect that to be the most interesting article to everyone, but And look at that change, like a mind-blowing 2% female. I am so used to seeing 0% there. AI reproduces itself really did seem to appeal to the female audience. You even got some of those 18 to 24-year-olds involved. Oh yeah, I know. By the way, for everyone, I got the cue, too much music. Music at the beginning is unwatchable. Music's too distracting. The music is distracting, especially with headphones. I know. Sorry. It's gonna be less. All right, we could turn this into a song. Microplastics are dangerous. Get a wood cutting board. That sounds like a cool track. All right, we'll go with a melodic sound.
Plastics are dangerous. If you have plastic cutting boards in your kitchen, you need to throw them out. ASAP. And get wooden ones. Why did your mic and mic stand get so dirty? Now love the show, but all of a sudden notice this. Ha ha ha.
I like the laugh. Oh.